Hi, my name is David Sable, and I'm the instructor for both spirituality in work and spirituality in the workplace. These instructions are for both courses and doing your weekly assignments. So the purpose of doing this as a contemplative practice and engaging with each other with mindfulness is to enable to bring out whatever sense of clarity and intuition you can. And to begin with, I'm going to go through basic mindfulness meditation as a way for you to calm the mind and find that clear space so that you can give your full attention to the content and to each other when we get to the second part. So there are two parts to this, two stages: individual contemplation and journal writing. And both of them are equally important, and in terms of your scores or grades, they're going to count equally. So what you say in your initial response and what you say in your interaction with others, that's going to matter equally. So part one, individual contemplation and journal writing. Here you begin just by settling yourself to begin with, giving yourself a chance to find some clarity and space. So that begins with taking a good posture, and putting your hands on your thighs, your feet on the floor, and having a sense of an open front. Maybe taking a few deep breaths, noticing your breath, your natural breathing. And at the same time, noticing the strength in your spine and your back, that sense of having your basic posture as a reminder of being here and being clear and open. So when you do that, you may notice that it immediately changes the way you think and feel about things. And if it does that, that's fine. If it doesn't do that, you're not wrong. You just need to just relax and try it for a little bit longer. Come back to the breathing when you find yourself distracted. When you find yourself distracted, it may mean, oh, your mind is wandering and you're thinking about lunch or dinner or what you need to do later today or what you need to do in the morning. And all of those thoughts are normal, and we're not trying to say to get rid of them. What we're trying to do is not lose track of the clarity in the present moment and the sense of calm abiding, which is always present if you give yourself a chance. So what we're suggesting you begin with to do the weekly assignment is just maybe 5 minutes of this basic mindfulness practice. And taking your posture, telling yourself when you're starting, maybe timing it, that's a good thing. That gives you a sense of when it begins and when it ends. Having done that, the transition to the work of the assignment is to look then at the question at the end of the assignment PowerPoint. Now, for those of you in spirituality and work, in the fall, that's every week. For those of you who are in the summer school courses, that's going to be every other PowerPoint presentation. When you focus on the question at the end of the assignment, that becomes your anchor to the present moment. And the first part is just to hold the question, not to try to answer it. Maybe even repeat the question over to yourself. But give yourself a few moments just to become familiar with the question. If you read it over several times, you may discover that it means something slightly different than you thought at first. Or, oh, you have a question about the question. All of which is going to be very helpful as you proceed. So giving yourself some time to just be with the question is part of contemplation practice. Having done that, you can begin to let your awareness open and deepen. So now it's not just about the words of the question. Now it's about how you are responding to that at the level of what we call a felt sense. And that has to do with what you're feeling, but it may not have anything to do with what you're thinking. It may be underneath the thinking. It may be what leads to your thinking. It may be something that you were only a little bit aware of. And it may be very subtle, and it may not be obvious at first, which is why you need this extra space and give it a little more time. So you read the question, you're not trying to answer it yet, and then you pay attention to how you're responding to it underneath. And that could be somewhere in here, or it could be in your heart area or in your throat, or it could even be in your head, but it's not just words. It's actually what we call a felt sense. And you pay attention to that, and when you do, you bring mind and body together. And it can change the way in which you perceive and understand what you're reading about. So once you do this, you then have a sense of being in contact with your own response, not just the author's point of view. And this gives you a way to not just analyze with reasoning from several authors' points of view, or me as the instructor, whatever point of view you think I'm trying to convey, but now it's really going to enable you to articulate what this means to you. And you'll find a little bit more about this in the PDF document online. Once you open to the meaning of the contemplation for yourself, and you have that sense, then you can begin to write your response to the assignment and your initial assignment work. So when you do that, it's going to involve integrating the concepts with what it is that this means to you, including how it's affected you, what matters to you in this reading. It may relate to your work experience, or maybe you haven't had any work experience related to this point. It can still relate to what it's making you feel in the present moment. Having done that, and having jotted down and written, you look again at what you wrote, and you see if you've got everything. Sometimes your response to these questions will seem like, oh yeah, I got the basic points. And then you look again at your own experience, and there's something else you could say about this. So that second take in doing the written response is really important. Then we come to the second stage, and that is beginning to work with your partners in the group discussion. And we call this the beginning of reflective inquiry. And when you do reflective inquiry, the first thing you need to be able to do is, with a clear mind, to be able to read other people's responses and to recognize in yourself what assumptions you may be making and what assumptions that the writer may be making. And the objective here is not so much to speculate and go beyond the question, but to try to get at what the other people in your group are saying. And in order to do that, what you need to be able to do is look back literally, carefully at what they wrote and see what questions you can ask about what they wrote. What did they mean when they said, everything is always changing, or this didn't make sense to me? Can you ask them to elaborate on that? What triggered you to question what they wrote? Think of what it means to you and see if it means something different. And in order to do that, I'm going to suggest you don't use leading questions by saying, I think it means this. Now what do you think? You simply say, what did you mean when you wrote this part about everything is always changing? Can you elaborate on that? And so the reflective inquiry is enabling the other students to look back at what they wrote from your perspective with a good question, and it's helpful to them. You're not trying to catch them with being right or wrong. And they're not going to be trying to catch you with being right or wrong. It's literally about helping each other look more deeply at what you wrote and what the assignments mean to you. So having done that, you might comment on what they wrote and wind up with a question about what they wrote. And this will integrate some of the analytic and critical thinking that you may be doing with your own experience. And you want to be able to demonstrate, of course, that you've done the readings, and when you do your initial response yourself, you're going to include references and citations, and when you're writing to other people about what they've written, you might want to ask them about where in the readings that point was or about their citations. But the main thing is not to try to correct them. The main thing is to explore what they really meant and to try to enable them to look at assumptions that they may be making. So when you do the reflective inquiry, the idea here is not so much to speculate about things that go beyond the question, but to get at the intention of the person who was writing their initial response. So if you have questions about this practice, you can write to me, and my email is there. It's on the first slide of every PowerPoint presentation, and it's there in the syllabus. And we will try to give you feedback on each assignment, and we try to get that feedback to you within a week. We do our best there. And you can write to us at any point, and we'll try to get back to email within 2 days. So thanks for your attention, good luck with the course, and we hope to hear from you. Thanks.